Okay, today you're going to learn about acrylic techniques. You're actually going to do these on watercolor paper, and then we will glue these in or tape these into your sketchbook. So, acrylic techniques. The first one we're going to do is called underpaint. Underpaint is the very first step in painting using acrylic. It is a watered down paint. It's a watered down paint. So, I'm going to get some paint. You get some paint in an ice cube tray, and you'll need a palette knife. I have mine in cups just because that's what I grabbed. So I get a scoop. I kind of use the back side of my palette knife, and I don't need a whole lot because this is a watered down paint, so I just need a little bit. So I'm going to scoop up some of this pale yellow, and I'm going to put it in my palette right there. I'm going to wipe off my palette knife with a paper towel because I don't want to let the paint dry onto it. It'll peel off, but not as easily as if I wipe it off now before it dries. And I'm going to get my brush. I'm going to hold my water container close to my palette, and I'm going to kind of just get a puddle of water in there. And I'm going to mix. Now I'm going to mix that little puddle of water with the paint. So it's almost like watercolor, it just kind of flows. And you would just take and paint whatever you need to with that watered down paint. It isn't very thick, it's very thin. It's just to get rid of that pure white color. Okay? And then you clean out your brush. Clean out your brush. You dip it halfway into the water, but don't go all the way to the bottom. Just push it around so you get it clean. And then when you go to dry it off with a paper towel, you wrap it around, gently wrapping it, starting at the middle, gently going up, so that you keep the shape of the bristles. Now you can see that my paper towel is wet, but there's no color there, so I got my brush clean. Okay, so now that is underpaint. Okay, next is straight acrylic. This is also for tempera. So this is just out of the container, no water. So this is going to be thicker. This is going to be thick. You have a little bit of paint on your brush. Or sorry, a little bit of water on your brush is fine. Again, I'm going to switch colors here. So I'm going to use my palette knife. I'm going to use the back side and get a scoop of paint out of there. I'm going to put it on my palette. I'm going to wipe off my palette knife. Now to mix colors, I'm going to add some of that pale yellow. You should always start with your lighter color, so I should have started with my yellow. Let's not add yellow. Let's add, I'll add blue, because that's what I have. I only have light colors because that's what I grabbed. So I'm going to take this blue, I'm going to mix it in with the green, with the palette knife. I'm making sure that I get things out of the way here, and I'm going to use the palette knife to mix it. So there's no water added to this paint. It's going to be thicker paint. So just kind of scrape the bottom a little bit, and then pick it up to mix it again. Makes a blue-green, since I mixed the blue and the green. And the blue was pretty light because it already had white mixed in it. So this makes a tint of blue-green. And I'm going to go ahead and clean off my palette knife. Make sure I get all the edges cleaned off. Okay? So now, I'm just going to take, when I use my paintbrush, I'm just going to get a little bit on the tip. I don't need to smash the whole brush into the paint. I'm just going to take up a little bit, and I'm going to paint with it. I have to go back and get more paint, then I go back and get more paint. Different size brushes are going to do different things. So try a variety of size brushes. This one, the brushes are kind of spread out, so it's not painting as nicely as it should. We didn't take care of it very well. So that's thicker paint, no water. And again, I'm going to clean out my brush the same way as I did before. Swish it around in the bucket, but not all the way at the bottom, and then gently wipe it off from the metal part to the tip of the brushes, the bristles, so that it stays together. That looks really dark, but it really isn't that dark. Number 3, the third technique, is masking fluid. Or rubber cement. You can use masking fluid or rubber cement, and this will do the same thing. Masking fluid is this little container here, mask pen. Give it a shake. Unscrew this white cap. Don't unscrew the whole thing. Just unscrew the white cap. And then you need to squeeze and create a design out of it. Makes nice thin lines. The rubber cement is going to make it cover a bigger area. This is going to make it a little smaller area. And I got to let that dry. Now before I close this, before I put the cap back on, I'm going to wipe it off so that I don't get a big mess all stuck to it. And then I just put the needle back in and screw on the top. So I got to come back to that in a little while after it dries. So I'm going to move on to number 4. I spilled a little bit of blue on my paper earlier, so I'm going to dab that away a little bit. Number 4 is masking tape. This is similar to masking fluid or rubber cement. It's going to keep whatever's underneath of it the same color. So on masking tape, I'm going to get nice, sharp, clean edges. So I'm going to put some tape down. I create a design here, a little bit of a design. Make sure you rub it down, get it stuck on there pretty good. And if you want that torn look, then use the torn edge. You can always use an X-Acto knife to cut a design. I'm just going to put some tape down. And since I still have this blue-green that I mixed earlier, I'm just going to use it because I don't want to waste, because this is just practice. I don't need to keep mixing colors. So I'm just going to paint. Now, when you go to paint across the tape, don't go up towards the edge that you're painting. You want to go a different direction. Either go down, along it, or go side to side. But don't go into it, because it might go underneath your design. paint part of the tape, otherwise it's not going to get covered. So just kind of paint your little tape set designs, and then let that dry a little bit. Wash out your brush. Make sure it's clean. So if that water isn't clean on the paper towel, when you wipe it off, rinse it off again. And then, my masking fluid has still not dried, so I'm going to have to come back to that tomorrow. I'm going to peel off this tape very carefully. Now, if I had paint underneath, I'd have to be really careful to not rip that design. That's why we don't want to leave this tape on for very long, because it will rip. The longer it sticks, the more stuck it gets, so the more likely it will rip. So you're just going to peel this off. And you can see this one had the rough edges, this one has the smoother edges. So there's my two designs that I painted with the masking tape. So I get nice crisp edges. We have two more techniques to go, and then I will come back to masking fluid. Okay, right here. Okay. All right, so this is Acrylic Techniques continued. I'm on my next page, so that's why I'm doing it over here. You do it wherever. If you don't need to rewrite it, that's fine. So number 5 is going to be with your palette knife. You paint with your palette knife. Your palette knife is what you've been mixing with. Now you're actually going to paint with it. So you can take your paint, get a good scoop on it. It could be the color that you mixed, or it might be a fresh one, I don't care which. And you're going to paint, and it kind of makes a thick design. You can use the edge and kind of push some of the paint around to make lines, lighter lines in it, a texture. So you can get thick paint. You can really kind of spread it out and get thin paint. And you can put lines in it with using the edge of your palette knife. So there's a wide variety with your palette knife. And the last technique I'm going to show you is called splatter. So splatter, or spatter, is basically the same idea. So you're going to take your color, and it probably needs to have a little bit of water with it, because otherwise it won't come off of your palette, your paintbrush very well. Get some paint on your brush with a little bit of water on it. And I would mask off whatever you don't want to get the splatter on, but for this one, this is just practice, so you can just tap away. I'm going to take a second brush, and I'm going to tap it. I'm going to loosely hold it in my left hand, because I'm right-handed. And this way I'm not going flat and it goes everywhere. I'm trying to control it a little bit. Again, make sure that paint in your brush doesn't go all the way to the metal. You don't need to load it that much. And then you can always go back and get more if you need to. And then clean out your brush when you are done. that's the last technique. Okay, the seventh acrylic and tempera painting technique that you might use is called dry brush. Dry brush is no water, and you wipe it off on a paper towel first. You're basically making a texture. So, I'm going to take my paint and get it mixed on my palette. And then, I'm going to take my brush, and if you've been using it and it's wet, just kind of dry it off as much as you can with a paper towel. You just don't want to add any more water to it. So if it's got a little bit of moisture in it, just wipe it off with your paper towel. Get it as dry as you can. Okay, now, I'm going to get just a little bit of paint on the tip. It doesn't take much. Just a little bit on the tip. Now I'm going to take my paper towel and I'm going to wipe most of it off. Now I can paint with this, and it's just going to make a texture. Usually, if you don't want that white underneath to show, you're going to paint a color first with a wet brush, and then you will do dry brush on top. And it just kind of makes a rough texture. You can't see that very well. Let's see if I zoom in, you can see it. There you go. So it's just picking up. I got rid of that if it will show a little better. You can see it a little bit better. You can see that it's rough texture. It's not a solid line. I'll switch colors, see if I can get it to show up a little bit better. I'll switch to green. So I'm going to get just a little bit of green on the tip of my brush. And then wipe most of it on the paper towel. Oh, there we go. That's a little better. It just kind of makes that texture, that rough texture in there. It's not a solid line. Just a tiny little bit on the tip of my brush. The main thing to do is make sure you wipe enough of it off on your paper towel that it isn't a solid line. You're just making kind of a rough texture. There we go. Now you can see that a little better. See how it's broken up. Then you clean out your brush. And I let my masking fluid dry overnight. So now I'm going to go back to my masking fluid. And I'm going to paint right across on top of that now. So I'm just going to go across the whole thing. You can do this with a little bit of water on your brush. You can do this with a watered down paint. You could do this with dry brush to get a texture under there. I'm just going to paint this whole thing. And I'm going to throw a little bit of blue in there, I think. So I'm going to clean out my brush before I dip it in the blue. Grab my blue. Let that kind of mix in a little bit there on that side, just to give it a little bit of variation in color, so I get kind of a blue-green. Mixes in there a little bit. Okay, and then I gotta let that dry a little bit, and then. Okay, the last step you need to do is remove the masking fluid or the rubber cement, and all you gotta do is once it's dry, take a white eraser and rub it off. It comes right off without ripping the paper, but you gotta make sure your paint's dry or it won't come off very easily. It'll rip your paper. And make sure those little pieces go in the trash, please. And then you can see it preserved the white.